It started with noise, soft, rhythmic, like footsteps echoing inside the empty county police station after midnight. The motion sensors didn't trip, the doors were locked, and the security feed showed nothing but static and silence. But when Deputy Cole Ramsey brought in his K-9, Ranger, the Shepherd's fur bristled the moment they entered the interrogation room. He stared straight at the one-way mirror, the one used to watch suspects, and began barking so violently that spit flecked the glass. Cole tried to calm him, but Ranger wasn't barking at a reflection. He was warning someone. Rain fell like needles over the quiet town of Blackridge, slicing through the mist and beating against the worn roof of the police outpost. The place looked more like an abandoned gas station than an active department. One flickering light above the entrance. 2 old patrol cars parked crooked under the awning. Inside, the night shift was silent except for the hum of an ancient coffee maker and the occasional groan of the building itself. Deputy Cole Ramsey sat alone in the control room, half watching a bank of security monitors that showed 6 angles of the station: lobby, hallway, evidence room, cells, and a small interrogation chamber with its single mirror. Most nights, he didn't even look anymore. Blackridge was the kind of place where nothing happened until it did, and when it did, it was usually too late to stop. He rubbed the scar above his eyebrow, a thin, pale line he'd earned 2 years ago during a call gone bad. The scar hurt more when it rained. Tonight, it burned. Behind him, Ranger, his German Shepherd partner, shifted in his crate and gave a soft whine. Cole turned, offering a tired smile. "Yeah, I know, buddy. Quiet night. Too quiet." He sipped his coffee, lukewarm, bitter, the kind that tasted like burnt cardboard, and leaned back, watching the feeds blur in his tired eyes. Then, at 1:13 a.m., camera 6, the interrogation room, flickered, just a static twitch, half a second long. Then normal again. Cole frowned. He rewound the feed, checked the timestamp. Nothing obvious. Just a glitch, maybe from the rainstorm. But when he paused a frame, something caught his eye, a shadow, faint and warped, just behind the mirror. A trick of light, he told himself. Except there were no lights on behind that glass. The observation room hadn't been used in weeks. He leaned closer. The shadow seemed to have shoulders. Then Ranger barked. A sharp, violent bark that snapped through the room like a whip. Cole spun around. The dog was on his feet, ears high, eyes locked on the hallway that led to the interrogation room. Another bark, louder, frantic this time. Cole set the coffee down and unclipped the latch on the crate. "What is it, boy?" Ranger bolted out, nails clattering on the tile, heading straight for the interrogation room. Cole followed, heart hammering. The lights in the hallway flickered as he passed. Old wiring, probably. But when he reached the door, Ranger was already there, barking at the mirror. The air in the room felt cold, unnaturally cold. Cole's breath fogged. "Ranger, sit," he barked. The dog didn't listen. His hackles were raised, his entire body stiff, a low growl rumbling deep in his chest. Cole stepped closer to the mirror. On the other side it was a small observation chamber, empty, or so it should have been. He flicked on the light. It hummed weakly to life, revealing dust, 2 old chairs, and an unplugged monitor. Nobody there. He looked back at Ranger. The shepherd's teeth were bare now. His gaze locked not on the mirror itself, but through it, as if tracking something that Cole couldn't see. Then came the noise, a faint knock, from the other side of the glass. Cole froze. 1, 2, 3 knocks. Slow, deliberate. He reached for his sidearm instinctively, but stopped halfway, because the knocking had stopped, replaced by a faint click, the sound of the security system rebooting. Lights dimmed for a second, then came back. He turned toward the control room. The monitors were all static. Every single one. Ranger was pacing now, whining, glancing between the mirror and the door, like he wanted to drag Cole away. The storm outside intensified, wind howling through the cracks of the old building. Cole exhaled sharply. "Okay, this is stupid," he muttered, trying to steady himself. He took his radio. "Dispatch, this is Ramsey at station. Power fluctuation here. Cameras are acting up. Can you confirm grid stability?" A burst of static, then silence. He tried again. Nothing. He lowered the radio, realizing the unease had settled into his bones. He'd been through shootouts, domestic calls gone bloody, even a meth lab explosion last year. But this stillness, felt worse. It wasn't fear. It was recognition. Like the air itself remembered something he didn't. He decided to check the breaker room in the basement. Ranger followed close, never leaving his side. The hallway down there smelled of mold and old rainwater. The overhead lights buzzed dimly. He pulled open the metal door to the electrical room and stopped. The mirror from the interrogation room's observation side, the back panel, was leaning against the far wall, removed, propped up like someone had been standing behind it recently. Cole felt his mouth go dry. He raised a flashlight, scanning the space. Who's there? His voice echoed against the concrete. No answer. Ranger growled, tail stiff. He sniffed the air, then turned toward the far corner, barking sharply. Cole followed the beam of his light and saw muddy boot prints leading straight to the corner, but they stopped abruptly, halfway up the wall. No human footprints stopped mid-step. Something scratched faintly, a dragging sound above the ceiling tiles. Ranger barked, eyes following the noise. Cole's pulse quickened. He took a cautious step back. All right, enough. We're leaving. They turned, but as they did, Cole noticed something else. The camera in the corner, the one wired to the feed upstairs, its small red light blinked back on. Someone was watching them. He ran back upstairs. Ranger close at heel. When he burst into control room, all the screens were live again, clear, crisp, and wrong. Every single monitor showed the same image. The interrogation room, empty, except for Ranger, standing in front of the mirror. Cole blinked, looked down. Ranger was right next to him, panting, staring at the screen too. But on the monitor, the dog wasn't panting. He wasn't even moving. He was staring back at the camera, motionless, as if frozen in time. Then the timestamp jumped backward by exactly 1 hour. Cole's throat tightened. That wasn't a live feed. That was a recording. He hit pause, then rewind. The video played backward in jerky movements. The dog backing away, Cole entering, the lights flickering, and then, before either had entered the room, a brief frame flashed. A figure standing behind the mirror, watching, face obscured, shape human, gone in the next frame. Cole's hands trembled. He stared at the screen, trying to convince himself it was a trick of light, a compression artifact, something explainable. But then the power surged again, and the screen filled with static. From within the hiss came a distorted whisper. Only 2 words, but clear as day. He remembers. Ranger let out a low, guttural growl, his body trembling. Cole turned to him slowly. Who remembers what, boy? The dog whimpered. Something Cole had never seen him do, and backed away from the monitor, pressing against the door. Cole's pulse thundered. His mind raced. Who could have said that? The station system wasn't even connected to external audio. Unless the voice wasn't coming through the speakers. It was coming from inside the room. He turned toward the hallway. Empty, but from the interrogation chamber, a faint flicker of light pulsed under the door. Ranger barked again, frantic. Cole took one hesitant step closer, and the light died. A slow breath left him. He holstered his weapon, forcing his voice to stay calm. All right, you win. We're done here for tonight. He reached down, rubbing Ranger's head. We'll check it in the morning. But as he turned off the monitors, one last image flashed across the central screen. For just a heartbeat. A reflection. Not his. Not Ranger's. A man standing behind them, pale eyes gleaming in the dark. And then everything went black. The next morning came too bright for how dark the night had felt. Sunlight pooled across the cracked linoleum floors of the Blackridge County Station, but it didn't chase away the chill. It only made the dust more visible, like the building itself was decaying one speck at a time. Deputy Cole Ramsey hadn't slept. He'd dozed in the office chair, maybe 20 minutes before the creak of the walls woke him again. The coffee tasted like mud this morning. His hand shook just enough to spill some on the report he'd been pretending to write. He'd filed it as security malfunction, but even typing those words felt like a lie. Ranger lay near his boots, head on paws, eyes half open but never resting. Every so often, he would glance at the interrogation room door, as if waiting. Cole exhaled sharply, rubbed his temples. "You saw something too, didn't you?" he muttered to the dog. Ranger's ears twitched, but he didn't look away from the door. The front entrance buzzed, the heavy metal door clanging open. Sheriff Marion Doyle walked in, her long coat dripping with melted frost. She'd been sheriff of Blackridge for 15 years. Older now, hair silvering at the temples, voice like gravel from decades of cigarettes and bad nights. "Morning," she said flatly, hanging the coat. "Heard we had some power trouble last night." Cole nodded. "Yeah, cameras glitched. Whole feed went down for about 20 minutes. Marion gave a look that said she didn't buy it. "You look like you wrestled the storm itself." Cole hesitated. It wasn't the storm. She waited for him to elaborate. He didn't. Instead, he pointed toward the monitors. "There's something you should see." They stepped into the control room. Cole rewound the footage again. The same moment as before, timestamp flickering. The eerie image of Ranger staring into mirror an hour before they'd entered. He hit pause. "That's not possible, right? That's us. But earlier, before we got there." Marion leaned close, squinting. Could be a loop, could be interference from a backup recording. "Then explain this." He advanced a few frames until the ghostly figure appeared behind the glass. The faint outline of a man, shoulders hunched, head tilted slightly like he was watching from just inches away. Marion's expression didn't change, but her voice lowered. "You cleaned that room after the Jackson case, right?" Cole nodded. "Weeks ago." "And you sealed off the observation chamber?" "Yeah, it's empty. I checked last night." She rubbed her jaw, exhaling slow. "Jackson killed his wife in that room, remember? Hung himself in the cell 2 hours after confession. Mirror's been covered ever since." Cole's stomach tightened. "You think this is him?" "I think you're tired." She straightened. "And I think the mind plays tricks when it's been through enough dark rooms." Cole wanted to argue, but he saw something flicker across her face. Doubt. Faint but real. She felt it too. Still, she turned away. "Do me a favor, Deputy. Reboot the whole system. Fresh wires, new drives. I'll have central send replacements." She left before he could answer. The rest of the day passed in uneasy silence. Cole worked the backup terminal, wiping logs and reloading footage, though his eyes kept drifting toward the mirror in the other room. Each time he looked, he half expected to see a face looking back. By sunset, most of the small-town staff had clocked out. Only Cole remained, trying to convince himself to go home. But every time he reached for his keys, Ranger growled low. Not a warning bark, just a sound that said stay. It was nearly 9:30 when the phone rang. He picked up. Blackridge Station. Static at first. Then a faint, male voice, strained, whispering. "Don't look in the glass." Cole froze. "Who is this?" But the line went dead. He stared at the receiver for a full minute before setting it down. The storm outside had returned, rain hammering the windows. Ranger was already standing now, hackles raised, facing the hall. The interrogation room door was open. Cole's pulse spiked. He was sure he'd locked it. He moved slowly, flashlight in one hand, the other on his holster. Ranger patted ahead, silent except for the faint click of nails on tile. Inside, the mirror gleamed under the weak ceiling light. Someone had wiped the dust clean. In the center of the glass, drawn with a finger, was a single word. "Remember." Cole stepped back. "All right, this is..." The radio on his shoulder crackled to life. "Say, Ramsey, you there? This is Central. Reading you now." He grabbed it. "Yeah, I'm here." "Who?" But the voice wasn't Central anymore. It was his own voice, distorted, whispering back. "You shouldn't have come back here." He dropped the radio. It hit the floor with a loud crack. Ranger barked sharply, spinning toward the hallway. Something had moved there, a flicker of motion just beyond the doorframe. Cole turned the flashlight toward it, beam shaking. Nothing, except a faint drip, water running down the wall from nowhere, puddling beneath the mirror. The air smelled of rust and earth. Ranger's barking stopped. He whined, stepping back, tail tucked. His reflection in the mirror trembled like the glass was rippling. Cole whispered, "What do you see?" Then the reflection moved. Not him, not the dog. Something else. A pale hand pressed against the inside of the glass. Cole stumbled backward, heart hammering. The hand dragged downward, leaving streaks like condensation. He drew his gun, but what would he shoot? The air? Then the phone rang again. He spun, grabbed it without thinking. Who the hell is this? A woman's voice this time. Calm, Cole. He's still in there. Who? Click. The line went dead. Cole stared at the receiver, his pulse roaring in his ears. He's still in there. The observation room. He turned toward the door, leading behind the mirror, the same door from last night. His every instinct screamed don't. But Ranger had already moved toward it, low growl rumbling deep in his chest. Cole gritted his teeth. All right, boy, we do this once. He pushed the door open. The observation chamber was pitch black. His flashlight flicked to life, beam cutting across empty chairs, dust, silence. Then footprints, bare human, leading to the far wall. The drywall there was cracked, peeling slightly, like something had pushed through from the other side. He ran his hand along the surface. It felt damp. Jesus, he muttered, stepping back. Then he saw something else on the ground. A tape, old VHS, label peeled off, initial scrawled faintly in ink, MD, Marion Doyle. Cole's mouth went dry. He picked it up, heart pounding. He found an old player in evidence storage. Ranger paced nervously as he slid the tape in, hit play. Static. Then the interrogation room, years ago. Marion younger, colder, sitting across from a man in cuffs. Dale Jackson, the same man who'd killed his wife. He was trembling, eyes darting toward the mirror. He's not gone, he said on the tape. He's in there. You can't bury what doesn't have a body. Marion leaned forward. Who's in there, Dale? Jackson laughed, hysterical, broken. You think I killed her? You think it was me? Look behind you. Go on. The recording shook violently, image twisting. For a second, a shape appeared in the reflection, long arms, pale face blurred by the tape. Then the footage cut to black. Cole's stomach turned. He ejected the tape, staring at it. The room felt smaller now, the air heavy. He grabbed the radio again, voice shaking. Sheriff Doyle, it's Ramsey. I found something. A recording. We need to talk. No response. He tried again. Sheriff, you there? A moment later, the door to the station creaked open behind him. Marion stood there. You found it, she said softly. Cole froze. What is this, Marion? She sighed, stepping closer, water dripping from her coat. You shouldn't have gone digging. Some things in this town stay buried for a reason. He stared. You knew? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at the mirror. Her reflection didn't move. The Jackson case wasn't what it looked like. His wife never made it out of that room. Not whole, anyway. Cole's voice dropped. What did you do? I didn't do anything, she said quietly. He did, but we couldn't prove it. So I locked the room. I told the town it was over. She paused, voice trembling, but she never left. The lights flickered. Ranger barked, once sharp, terrified. Cole turned toward the mirror. A woman's face pressed against the glass from inside. Eyes wide, mouth open in a soundless scream. Marion whispered, She wants him back. Cole stumbled backward, pulling his gun. What the hell is this? Marion didn't flinch. The mirror records everything. It doesn't forget. You saw the missing hour, didn't you? The one where you're not there yet? That's not the past, Cole. She turned toward him, eyes hollow. That's what's coming. The lights died. Darkness swallowed the room. Ranger barked wildly, the sound of claws skidding, furniture toppling. Cole shouted for Marion, but her voice was gone. Only a whisper lingered, curling through the dark like smoke. He remembers. Then glass shattered. A rush of cold air, the sound of something wet and heavy dragging across the floor. Cole fired blindly, one shot, two, each one echoing into the dark. Then silence, only the sound of rain outside, and Ranger's soft whine beside him. When the backup generator flicked the lights back on, the room was empty. No Marion, no body, only the mirror, cracked down the center, and a faint reflection staring back that wasn't his own. Cole took one step closer, breath shaking. The reflection smiled, and then it was gone. A quiet voice, calm and steady, as if speaking to a listener afterward. If you made it this far, thank you. If stories that breathe in the dark find you too, maybe stick around. You might see something the rest of us missed. The storm didn't stop for 2 days. Blackridge drowned in endless rain. Streets flooded. The sky hung low and gray. The hills swallowed in fog. The sheriff's station sat silent through it all. Lights off, no patrols, no chatter on the radio. Inside, the mirror waited. When they found Deputy Cole Ramsey 2 days later, he was sitting on the floor of the interrogation room. His uniform was soaked, his eyes bloodshot, his sidearm on the tile beside him. Ranger lay near the door, ears low but watchful. Cole looked up when the rescue team broke in. His first words were quiet, almost childlike. "She's gone." They didn't understand what he meant. Sheriff Marion Doyle was missing, presumed dead. Her cruiser had been found half submerged by Miller's Creek. Keys still in the ignition. No signs of struggle. Cole refused medical leave. He stayed in the station, insisting on reviewing footage, rechecking angles, looking for what no one else could see. But the files were gone. Every recording from that night corrupted, overwritten by static. The only thing left was the cracked mirror. It was 3 nights later when Deputy Miles Granger stopped by. Younger, skeptical, the kind of man who laughed off ghost stories and believed everything could be explained by a busted circuit or bad wiring. He brought food, coffee, silence. Watched Cole from the doorway. "You're losing it, man," Miles said finally. "I know Mary meant something to you, but you can't sit here talking to glass." Cole didn't look up. "You didn't hear it." "Hear what?" Cole's voice trembled. "The knocking. The voice. The mirror doesn't reflect. It remembers." Miles sighed, stepping in. "You've been awake for 72 hours. What you need is—" Ranger's sudden bark cut him off. Sharp, urgent. The dog faced a mirror, teeth bared. Cole stood. "He sees it too." "Sees what?" Cole pointed at the glass. The other sighed. Miles stared. "There's nothing there, Cole. Just your reflection." Cole took a step closer. "That's what I thought. But it's not me anymore." His reflection didn't move when he did. It stayed perfectly still. Miles froze, breath catching. "What the hell?" Then the reflection smiled. The power flickered. Ranger barked again, snapping his teeth at the glass. Miles stumbled back, reaching for his weapon. "Jesus, what is that?" Cole's voice was steady now, eerily calm. "Marion said the mirror records everything. Every lie, every sin." She wasn't talking about Jackson. Miles stared at him. "Then who?" Cole looked at the floor. His jaw tightened. "She met me." Miles shook his head. "That's insane." "Is it?" Cole stepped closer to the mirror. "That night with the domestic call, the one 2 years ago, the one that got me the scar." He touched the pale line above his brow. "They said the man shot first, that I had no choice." He paused. The reflection smile widened, slow and knowing. "I lied," Cole whispered. "He didn't have a gun. He reached for the mirror, said she was in there. I thought he was crazy, so I pulled the trigger." Miles swallowed. "Cole, I wrote it up as self-defense. Marion covered for me, said the footage was corrupted, but it wasn't. She hid it, behind the glass." He reached out, hand trembling, touching the cracked surface. It felt cold, alive. The lights dimmed further. The reflection tilted its head, a fraction off from his movement. Then it spoke. He remembers. Ranger whimpered, backing away. Miles drew his weapon. Back away from it. But Cole didn't move. He stared into the glass, voice breaking. If she's still in there, maybe she can forgive me. The mirror shuddered once. The crack widened. A thin line of water trickled down, pooling at Cole's boots. The air turned heavy, thick with the scent of iron. Miles shouted, "Cole, move!" Cole looked back once, eyes wet. You said the footage showed nothing. He pressed his palm against a mirror. The glass split open. The sound was deafening. A sharp, wet snap followed by a rush of air that sucked the light out of the room. Ranger howled. Miles fell backward, covering his face as shards flew. When he looked up, the mirror was gone. So was Cole. Only the empty frame remained, edges slick with condensation. The radio screeched with static. Somewhere in the dark, Ranger whined softly, then trotted toward the broken frame, sniffing. He barked once, then sat, staring into the void where the glass had been. Miles crawled forward. "Cole!" No answer, only the faint echo of his own voice, repeating back from the hollow space. A second later than it should have. "Cole! Cole!" Then silence. They searched for weeks, dredged the creek, scoured the woods. No trace of Marion Doyle or Deputy Ramsey. The county filed it under accidental disappearance. The station was shut down, condemned, and replaced with a new precinct in town. But locals still whisper about the old building, especially the ones who swore they heard barking when they passed at night. Ranger was found a month later, miles away in the woods, collar torn, eyes dull. He wouldn't go near his own reflection again. Years passed. The story faded. Then one evening, a new deputy, fresh out of academy, was sent to the old site, now slated for demolition. He went in to inventory leftover equipment before the wrecking crew arrived. The power was long dead, but his flashlight beam caught the faint shimmer of something leaning against the far wall. A mirror, cracked, familiar. He hesitated, then wiped the dust. His own reflection looked back, young, tired, curious. Behind him, a shape moved. He turned fast, nothing there. When he faced the mirror again, there were two reflections, his and another, standing just behind, wearing a Blackridge uniform with a faded name tag. R. Ramsey. The deputy froze, heart pounding. Cole's reflection raised a hand and pressed it against the glass. Its mouth moved, but no sound came. Then, faintly, through the static of the empty building, a single bark echoed from somewhere deep below. The deputy stumbled backward, dropping his flashlight. When he picked it up again, the reflection was gone. Only a single fingerprint remained on the glass. Fresh, warm, morning came quietly over Blackridge. The old station stood one last time before demolition, light cutting through the shattered roof. In the corner, the mirror leaned against the wall, reflecting the empty room. For a moment, the image rippled. And on the other side, Cole sat in the darkness, his hand pressed against the glass. Beside him, Ranger rested his head on Cole's knee. Cole whispered, voice trembling but calm now, "I remember." Then the reflection faded, leaving only the empty frame.